Show and go with Taylor Davis. Today is Friday, March 31st. It is the day after MLB opening day. It is AAA opening day, and then you got the rest of the minor leagues to follow. But our guest today has spent parts of 7 major league seasons up at the big league level, 5 of which with the Cubs. He's got a ring. I don't know if you got it on right now. Albert Almora Jr.
No.
The show. Where do you keep the ring?
Um, I keep it locked up with the bank in the bank somewhere safe.
Good, good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
give me your first memories of getting to know Taylor Davis, because obviously you guys were in the same org, you came up together. What
Yeah.
was TD like at that point? And I mean, you were a really young guy. You debuted in 16 at 22 years old.
Yes. I think I met TD. Remind me, was it Double A? I think my first stint in
Yeah,
Double A.
Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee.
Yeah, yeah. And then honestly, just watching the guy. I came up out of high school and really I didn't start playing cards and stuff till to the minor leagues, and that's how me and TD actually started, talking, and we've been best buds. We played together after that for how many
A long
years?
time. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
been
parts
playing
of
against
parts
each
for
other.
like 6 years probably.
Yeah, yeah. We he's seen me without kids. I've seen him without kids. It's the good times.
What were your thoughts on the hair when he had it?
Oh, I was actually there when
You
they
got
cut
it.
it, when that whole situation went down with Joe Madden's like his
Charity.
charity. Yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. I remember we were in stretch talking about it, like, hey, there's no way you're doing it. He's like, oh, it's they pay enough, and I was like, hey, that was fun. That was a fun time.
TD, you caught Albert when he was really young, like not literally caught, but you were teammates with him when he was really young. What do you remember about a young Albert Almora?
So the funny thing is, so one of my best, I mean, still to this day we keep in touch. Was a scout with the Cubs, and I'll never forget. Like right after I signed, I was talking to him. It was the guy that signed me, and he was our scouting director at the time. And I've always been a baseball nerd. Like I've always kept up with drafts. I've always kept up with trade. Like I just love doing that. So I'd always ask him, like, hey, like, what do we got? What are we thinking? We had high picks every year, so they were fun conversations. And I'll never forget this conversation. He goes, there may be some people that call me crazy. He's like, but I love this kid in Miami. And he's like, I think he's one of the most major league ready outfielders I've seen as a high school player. He said, and then he goes, and he's got this tree, and he climbs this tree like 3 times a day. But no, I got to see Albert when he was young, and Albert was far ahead of his time maturity wise on the field. Um, Off the field, he's been a pretty mature kid too. But the reality was like he didn't play like a 19-year-old. And like part of that, and I don't know if you attribute any of this, but like I feel like playing on all those USA teams had to help you with that.
100%, no doubt. I mean, that helped me grow so much, at a young age, going internationally to different places, and no parents, just kind of on your own and with the guys. It honestly got me ready for pro ball, and that aspect of just you're with your teammates 24/7, even outside of the game, which is it's how it was. And even
Yeah.
I started, once you get to the big leagues, I feel like that kind of goes away. That kind of aspect of it, everybody kind of does their own thing. But I mean, the best times have been in the minor leagues, without a doubt. But yeah, I think it's USA is a big help for me.
So a couple of questions about like coming up, right? I want to ask about the draft, but before that, you're from Hialeah, Florida, and you got what? Nick
Yeah,
Castellanos is from Hialeah, Gio Gonzalez is from Hialeah, Nestor went to Hialeah.
yeah.
That feels like a baseball powerhouse, man. Like, what was the competition like, and who are some of those names that you saw even at the high school level, or even like growing up in Little League? Who were you playing with?
Yeah, we had. I mean, I played with Manny Machado till like we were 12 years old, and then even if he went to my high school, then he transferred out. But we played together growing up. I mean, me and Manny and Gio all lived within like a mile radius of each other. It was crazy. But Gio's a little older, so was Nick. So does Manny. But I ended up playing with Manny. I played up. I always played higher than my age. So I enjoyed it. Those I went to a high school game now, and it's completely different from when I was there. I felt the game. Obviously, I'm older and I see the game different, but you can tell that the competition wasn't as intense as it was when we were, getting to my later years in high school. But it was a lot of small runs and a lot of pitching, a lot of good arms out there. So it was fun.
Yeah, those like that, like 2008 to like 2014 state of Florida high
Yeah,
school class.
Hosmer, Nieto, all
Yeah,
those guys,
start '08 was
Monteros.
Hosmer Nieto and all those
Yeah,
guys.
yeah,
Tim Sweet. And then from that point on, dude, like it just the state of Florida really blossomed for a bit.
yeah,
You saw
yeah.
a
We
bunch of
enjoyed it.
like that team, were you on that team, the FTB team that was like unbelievable?
That was a good team as well. I played that for that Jupiter Worldwood bat, and
Yeah.
it was me and center, Winker and Wright, David Dahl as well. I mean, it was just stacked. Jose Fernandez was there. Javi,
Like Javi Lindor and Vogelbach.
yeah. That was the year before me when that whole squad. I saw those from a. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed watching that as a fan too. So even at a young age, you knew those guys. You knew guys, right? You knew like names, and you always wanted to see how they were playing. So, those were some great times, man.
Hold on. What team is this? Was that like a travel organization or something?
Yeah, it was just like this. The FTB was a really respected high school like travel ball team where they got a lot of great athletes, a lot of great players together, and especially for this one tournament, like the Worldwood Bat, it's in
Yeah.
Jupiter, and they used to get all the guys together, and it was fun. It really was the creme de la crop there, man. Not just on our team, but we never won. It was crazy.
So
It was a
Jupiter
crazy
Jack,
league.
Jupiter is very well known in the high school for that one tournament.
Yeah,
They host other perfect game stuff, but it's called the Worldwood Bat, the WWBA. It's
yeah.
hosted in Jupiter every fall. So that's the importance of
Octoberish, right? Yeah, every October.
you do every like all these tournaments typically happen in the spring and summer. This one happens in the fall, and it is the tournament.
Yeah.
They have to outsource golf carts. So the first time we got to play in it, we were from Jupiter, and we had some pretty good players, but like we didn't really have a team. Like we just put these guys together, which a lot of these teams do, but they're run under organizations like FTB or whatever it may be. We didn't have a team, and so we had to have ex-major leaguers call to verify our players. They were like guys in front offices and major league coaches call and say, hey, like these guys are good, like you should let them play. So we ended up playing the first game like the day before the Worldwood Bat started because we were in Jupiter. So they were like, hey, you guys want to play the first game? And I like still to this day have never played in front of more scouts. And like it was absolutely
intense. It was
because we were the only game going on and everybody was there.
So you guys were what, like 15, 16 years old, and how many like
so
ballpark estimate?
You go your junior year and your senior year.
Yeah.
Your senior year, like the fall of your senior year, that's when you like those guys. That's the team that he was talking about before. That had like it was like Baez, Lindor, Winker, Vogelbach. Manny was on that team. Jose Fernandez was on that team. It was a joke.
Yeah.
Ballpark estimate, how many scouts were in attendance?
It surrounded the whole.
They're like layers deep. They're behind backstops layers. I mean, there's probably 1,000 dudes there.
Buddy. Thank you. Sorry, my son came in.
It's crazy, dude. I mean, I've literally watched. I know for a fact that like scholarships are given out at that tournament. Like guys,
for sure, no doubt,
like a performance, and they're like, all right, like I'm
even for draft. I feel like people add draft value, or obviously, but it's and they get to know families a lot there. It's everybody's just always creeping around. It's interesting. It's very interesting.
For guys that like have never been around it, it's the first taste of like big baseball.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
When did you commit to Miami? Because obviously you were like, top 10 player in America. Like you were the 6th overall pick in 2012. Obviously we heard like what Tristan Casas, I think was eighth grade when he commit to Miami.
Yeah. No, I had committed to a previous university earlier, like around that 8th grade. I committed to FIU. And I didn't know. I was just the first college that had offered me something. So I was like, oh, this is, that's the dream of mine, honestly, was just to go to college and get my education. And then I a couple years later, I think my freshman year, end of freshman year, Miami reached out, and I've always been a Miami fan. Once I saw the opportunity, I committed to there right away. It's all verbal, right? It's all verbal. You can't sign anything till your junior year, but so I just verbally committed, and that was it. That was history.
Got you. Now, at what point did you really know that, the top 10 in that draft was coming? Because, I take a look at the 5 guys that went in front of you. Correa was an academy guy in Puerto Rico.
Yep.
And then Buxton was another high school outfielder. But then you had Zanino at Florida. You had Kevin Gausman at LSU. And then Kyle Zimmer, who was a stud at USF.
Yep.
So, where did you feel like you were going to go there?
Oh, man, I really didn't. I had a feeling I was gonna go in the first round. I didn't know how high. I think a couple days before or a week before the draft, I did a workout at Marlins Stadium. Like, it had just that new stadium that they just. It was brand new. I think I was hitting there before they actually played a major league game there. It was like right before the season, but and they had 9. They had 9. So I thought maybe it was there. That was a good pick. Maybe, I don't know. I was along for the ride. I wanted to go the way my mind. I wanted to go 1-1. I tried to do my best throughout season and USA to put myself in the best situation, and then I just let whatever fate determine wherever I go. So I was super, super happy too with Chicago.
I'll let Taylor jump in here in a moment, but did you hit the crappy statue during BP when you were at Marlins Park? Did you hit that thing in left center?
No, you know what? They had. I was a 7, 8, just turned 18, little skinny kid, and they closed the roof and opened the back where everything just felt so humid and it didn't go anywhere. And I was so nervous. I just kept hitting balls. They would kept throwing. I just kept hitting. I didn't even look at my swing. I was just like this. I just wanted to hit it as hard as I can, as far. So I can't tell you one round of BP that I had that one day.
Love that. No, that's funny. That's good. That's good. Like, just looking back on like your path and your journey, and like, was there a part in minor league baseball that, like, when it clicked to you that you were ready to be in the big leagues?
Wow, that's a good question.
Because we talked about, and Albert, like, I feel like as players, we talk about this all the time. Like, you in high school and you get drafted, I don't care if you're the first pick or you're the last pick, you think you're ready for the big leagues.
That's what I was going to get to. That's what I was going to get to.
But I think that there comes a point when you get to like A ball to AA, most guys, where you're like, man, like, this isn't a gimme anymore. This is like, and even though you made it at 22, like, you didn't have an easy path. Like, you really didn't.
No,
you had to earn everything you got to get there. And I just wonder if that ever hit you. Like, did it ever hit you before getting the call that, like, you know what, like, man, like, this is I'm ready.
So, like you said, when I first got drafted, my confidence, especially as a defender, my confidence was through the roof. So I was like, hey, I could go get it with the best of them right now. And I thought in my head, I'll grind hitting. I could grind the offensive part, but I didn't feel. So once you get to AA, that's the big jump, right? I feel like high A to AA, you start getting guys that can command their stuff better. You start getting more, some older guys that have experience, and you're just, it's a different ballgame. The game speeds up just a tad more. So I feel like once I got there, I did have to make an adjustment. I went through a period where I had to get a little smarter. I had to get a little bit more under control and not try to be a freak athlete this whole time. So once I made that adjustment, I think my second go around in AA, I got more comfortable, and then AAA, and then honestly, I made my biggest adjustment once I came back from the big leagues that first time. I was like, all right, that is where I gotta be. I know exactly how people work, how they're going about their day, how they're taking their at bats. So that's when you really start learning. But I'm still learning now. You know how it is. You don't. Every season is a learning curve. Somehow your body changes, your mind changes. You want to do different things. So it's always a constant adjustment.
I've always said that I think the biggest jump in talent is from high A to double A. And
No doubt.
here's what I tell people is like and this is no offense to anybody, that only got, but like in high A, there are spots in the lineup that are just players shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I hear
when you double A, everybody in double A could play in the big leagues. I believe that if you get put in the right spot in the right time, if you're playing every day in double A.
Yep.
And then I think the jump from double A to triple A is just the biggest jump I noticed on the defensive side. It's a little bit cleaner.
Yep.
Balls aren't hitting the dirt. And even if we're not talking about errors, like just the game is cleaner. And then on the pitching side, guys don't pitch with their egos. In double A, guys will still pitch with their egos. You can
I agree
still
with that. Yeah.
And I specifically remember like when I went down, so I was there in 14, up and down to 15 and 16. And I specifically remember in 16 going down one time and like thinking I just remember this one scenario. There was bases loaded. This guy had a big fastball and he had beat me with it once in the at-bat. And I just remember the rest of the at-bat in my head. I was like, that's all he's going to throw me. And sure enough, that's all he threw me like 6 times in a row, because he wanted to prove that he could get me out that
Yeah,
pitch.
he could get it fast. That's his best bullet. That's what he's going to die with. But guys in AAA wouldn't care. They'd mix in something. Yeah. I agree.
It's really interesting to me. And I mean, like, you're probably a guy that was circled for a really long time when you were coming up pre-2016. And I mean, hey, even after that, right? You were a top 100 guy by Pipeline and a couple of these other places 5 different years. So obviously, teams are paying attention to you. And from the outside perspective, it's, oh, he's a top 100 guy. He was the former 6 overall pick. It should just be like a steady ascension and you're there. Was there a speed bump at any point pre-16 in your debut?
I mean, in my eyes, right, you want to go and you want to help the big league team right away. But I think everything worked out perfectly in that aspect. Would I have wanted to get there earlier? Of course, who wouldn't have? But you look at the team, the way the team was trajectorying. They had the pieces already to go after a serious run. So I knew that situation. It wasn't like a situation where a couple years earlier where they were just kind of giving guys chances, which sometimes that's the luck of the draw. You get teams that are running contention, but you just try to help those teams however much you can. So when I got the call in 16, I understood my assignment. It was like I was trying to do my best so I could help, but I didn't want to be a distraction from that World Series team. I just wanted to go in and whatever I could do to help. Hey, if you guys need me to go back down, go, so be it. So it wasn't until 17 where I was like, all right, this is it. I'm gonna try to. I'm staying. That's what I kind of like that. But the up and downs are gonna happen, and especially in the mental side of the game, man. That's the toughest part. So those are always gonna happen during the year.
We talked about that on the last episode. Actually, I'm gonna get a guy. I got our mental coordinator is gonna come on.
Have you seen like Mark Appel, him writing these tweets and like writing these little stories and stuff?
Oh, are they
it's
good?
Really interesting. The way he's like, he writes what's going on, basically what's going on with him and his career, and it could speak to a lot of players, and like it's pretty It's pretty neat. It's pretty yeah.
I'll send you one of those threads after this. Also, I'm not sure if you guys saw, but Daniel Bard is like starting the year kind of on the inactive list because he's going through anxiety. And, that's one of like the very few times that guys are actually open about that type of thing. And we know about his past. So that's got to be like a positive thing that's coming out of, this concerted effort to prioritize mental health, right? Everybody is starting to be a lot more receptive to situations like this.
Yeah. I feel like it's been growing in the game at a rapid pace, especially as I was coming up. They started introducing that while we were coming up, and at first, obviously, it has its own stigma. But I'm glad it's getting more comfortable to talk about now. But yeah, Daniel Bard, that was we witnessed it with Chicago when he was with us. It was tough. It was tough for him, and then he became an all-star after that. So.
I wish the best for Daniel Bard. I really hope that. I'm sure the Altuve thing was just that.
I know it's a terrible situation, man.
Going back to your thing. I do think that part of the reason that you didn't go up earlier was because you were more than just a fourth outfielder, and you had Fowler at the time who was leading up, and like to Dexter's credit, he was never better than when he was with the Cubs.
Oh,
So
he was the glue to that team, man. It started with him. So, and I
right,
learned a lot from him too, which was great.
yeah, and he was a great guy to have around. I mean, I'll never forget the moment we were all standing on the mound when he came back in 16.
Remember that? Yes, that
So,
was cool.
so
That was
Jack,
very nice and cool.
so he was there, and that was 16, right?
That was 16. Yes.
So in 15, he was there, but he only had signed a 1 year. He had signed a 1 year deal with an opt out.
Yeah,
and he opted out after 15. And we went through like, we were, I don't know, probably 2 weeks into camp, and in 16, and at the end of the day, we all got on, like they said, hey, like let's talk about it. We all got on the mound, and the strength guy, Bussy, like, hey, look down the line, and everybody turned and looked, and Fowler was walking into the group.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it took everybody a second. At the beginning, everybody was like, "What is he just here to hang?" Oh,
Yeah, we brought him back. Yeah, yeah. That was the start. That was the start of that special season, without a doubt.
There was so much cool stuff that happened, and like I talk about all the time about how there were so many corny little things that were started in Chicago, and at the end of the day, I really think a lot of those added up to some really cool culture. Like, I'm not sure that anybody in the I've now been with anybody else, but the culture that was created from the time I was there until they won that World Series in those 4 years, everybody wanted to be at the field every day, no matter which affiliate you were at.
Yeah, you enjoyed coming to work for sure.
Yes, and there was this overwhelming drive of pride being a Chicago Cub, and I think that's what's driven me to believe in culture, because I really didn't. Like, I didn't really believe in culture. I mean, I think it's a thing, but I was always like, dude, get the best players. Who cares?
it's corny, right? Like, oh, all these culture setting things, like, I don't know, we're all grown men, we don't need that. But all of a sudden, when it happens enough and you spend like every waking minute with these guys, it probably matters.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of guys that have been in different organizations would always, at least I would always hear, hey man, like, this isn't like this in a lot of places, this. So it wasn't until I was in different organizations that I saw, I was like, oh, that what we had then was very special. And that's what it takes to win and to go that far. Because everybody plays, we could all, if we all have a 7-game series against every team, it could go either way, but it's how well you get along, how well it really does. It is corny, but it really comes down to that.
Well, and that also probably lit that competitive fire under your butt when you came up, right? You debut in June, and obviously all you guys are hyper competitive. You want to be put in the most pressure packed moments, right? Like, nobody wants to, nobody thinks of the big moment in their major league career as like 4th inning down 3. It's all like, I want to play on a winning team. I want to do that right away. So you come up in June, and you're on a team that eventually wins the World Series. You guys won 100 games that year. Best team in baseball from pole to pole. What kind of competitive fire did you have during that season, coming up and being like, whatever my role is, I'm going to kick ass in it?
Well, I'll share a quick story. So coming up in the minor leagues, what I was always taught was, hey, if you get to the big leagues, at first it's head down, do as you're told, like, don't get anybody's way, be the first to do everything, whatever. So, respect the veterans. And so I remember getting called up, and I was in Philadelphia. We're on the road, and I was at my locker, just getting ready to go off a stretch. And I get a tap on my shoulder, and David Ross sits next to me. And he goes, hey man, I don't care if you're a rookie. I don't care if you get 10 years. You're here to help us win. Don't act different. Don't put pressure on yourself. Just be you. And him telling me that took so much off, where I could just have fun and be myself. Because I even though I'm a quiet person in general, I still like to have fun and enjoy. And so I didn't know I was gonna be quiet. I was gonna be too reserved. But when he told me that, it was, and we won that day, and it was a good celebration. We used to celebrate after we win. So just that, me breaking into like that, I knew that I was just a little piece in a puzzle. I was like, all right, I just got to come to work, give it everything I can, defensively, offensively, whatever I could, and then, go home satisfied. And that's what we did until the last game of the season. So
Yeah, it's sick. That team was built of a group of first rounders and really, really good players. So like,
Yeah.
The culture around that group, we talked about it. It was fantastic. But like everybody really just truly wanted to win. And I think that, another corny thing, but like a lot of people on that team knew their role, right? Like there were superstars on that team. We all know that. There were guys that were not superstars on that team that played big roles. You did arguably the biggest thing of the World Series when you tagged up at first, right? Like you were probably not even a thought for them at the beginning of the year to be that in Game 7. Right? Like for that to happen, it takes everybody buying in. And that's what I think happened. And that's why like when you talk about the culture, that's why it matters. It's because everybody's got to buy in because you never know who's going to play a role. You're going to tell me that people knew that David Bodie was going to hit that grand slam against the Nationals and become a piece of that lineup for 3 years? Like, no way. Right? 2 years ago, that guy was in AAA on and off the Phantom DL.
Going from AAA to the short season, like kind of in and off, like we're just trying to play somewhere. We would tell him that all the time. The story what he had was very special, man, and not a lot of people stick it out like that. So, dude, kudos, man, kudos to him. But even like in 16 with Tommy Lestella, that guy ended up being an all-star, everyday player, and he wasn't. He was with the boys. He was there. Don't quote me. Was he on the roster? I don't know if he was or not.
I don't think
wasn't he left off for one of the series? I think he was
for one of the series, yeah.
And that guy's a natural hitter.
Maybe for Schwarber.
Yeah, I think it was with Schwarber.
There was a lot of cool stuff. I mean, Rob Z played a big role that year.
I know.
Like,
I was standing. We can't curse here, right? We can't curse.
No, you can.
Yeah, do what you want.
I'll never forget. I was sitting next to Rob Z in Game 7 when Rajai Davis hit the homer to tie the game, and you could hear literally a pencil drop in our dugout, and all of a sudden, all I hear is someone yell "foot" down in the dugout, and it was Rob Z. I'll never forget that. He was standing right next to me. All I heard him was yell at. In the midst of all silence, it was great. Now looking back, it was great.
We had Rob Z on the podcast, and he told us that exact story that he was saying.
Really?
I swear to you.
Yes, man. That was
because we told the story. Did you ever know the story about his locker?
His locker.
After the game.
No, what happened?
So after Game 7, one of the photographers stood in his locker and tore down the plastic in his locker, just his locker, and then left. And Rob was across the locker room, so he walked in the locker room, watching his clothes, phone, everything get
crushed
with champagne. So no nothing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he was watching it. He's watching it across the way.
He couldn't do anything about it.
There it is, man.
At that time, you just gotta wear it. You just gotta wear that.
Yeah.
You got to be at peace with it. You just got to let life happen and enjoy your
world. You won Game 7. Who cares?
Oh, who cares? Who cares? TD, how's coaching? How is it?
I tell everybody that it's. I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, you know me. I think it kind of fit me as it was, but it's not too bad yet because they haven't started talking about players yet. So I haven't heard anything bad about players. So it's been fine. But no, it's been cool. Starting to I'll tell you this, the biggest surprise to me is how much they're really teaching the coach, how much we're getting taught.
Oh, really?
Not, dude, I promise you, we haven't really even talked about players. It's been learning how the body moves and learning how the swing works and just being this giant, I don't know. I didn't expect coaches to be doing this much learning. I expected it to be much more player evaluation. Let's put lineups together. Let's put drills together. No.
Have you guys started playing yet?
No, and we won't. They actually just tomorrow's is it tomorrow? No, Saturday is the last day of spring training.
Okay.
And then we get a week off actually, and then we'll come back and we'll do extended, which I never did extended as a player. So it's my first time doing it extended. And then I think games for that start like the middle of April.
Okay.
But Amber's due at the end of April, first week of May.
Oh
So
man.
we're about to have 2 kids. I'm about to be feeling your pain. I'm about to have 2 kids running around. Exponentially multiplies my anxiety.
Dude, crazy.
I mean, question for both of you guys. What is dad life like as a player? I mean, that's got to be a tough thing to balance. But I mean, Taylor, I've heard you say like the coolest thing in the world is bringing your kid out onto the field post game. I mean, what's it like for you, Albert?
It's
Albert,
great.
you gotta tell your story too. Amber told me like about how you were in 15 different cities during the birth.
Oh yeah. So I was actually, it's crazy how the world works. I was hurt when Crystal, she was around 8.5 months pregnant, and where were we? We were in Sacramento. I think we were playing. We were in Sacramento, and my thumb wasn't getting better. It was supposed to be
Right,
it was supposed to be just like I jammed my thumb little, but it never got better. So lo and behold, they were like, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna send you to Chicago to get an MRI and take a look with the team doc." And Crystal was already there, waiting to give birth. So I text her. I'm like, "Oh, I'm all excited. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get to see you for at least a day or two." Um, I get on my flight, land. As soon as I land, uh, she calls me, and she always likes to call like, "Oh, where you at? Like, how long you got left? You got 10 minutes and whatever." And I kind of answered the phone a little aggravated. I was like, "What's up? What we got? I'm almost there." And she is like, I think my water broke." And that's how quick it happened. I literally was there to get an MRI. And if we did the math and we did the timing, if she had called me and I was in Sacramento, I wouldn't have made it. Like, she gave birth so fast, everything happened so quick. I wouldn't have made it in time if
I'd already been headed there.
yeah. So
That's
it
a
ended up working
blessing.
out.
That's an
Yeah.
insane blessing.
Crazy. And she would have been alone because she's from Philadelphia, so she had nobody with her. So yeah, it was everything happens for a reason, and that was a really, I got to see the birth of my first son, and super blessed. Super blessed.
You're spending a lot of time with them, this year,
Yeah.
obviously recovering from shoulder surgery.
Yeah.
You said you were playing through it pretty much all the last year. Was it a labrum thing?
So man, it was a little bit of everything. I had a little tear in my labrum, but the most of the damage was in the rotator cuff. Yeah, I signed. Last year was kind of a weird, strange year since the lockout a little bit pushed everything back in negotiations, and then I ended up signing. I think with a couple weeks left of camp before you break. So when I signed, I tried to go in there guns blazing, trying to perform, and I was throwing in the off season, but it was painful. It was so. I usually It usually happens in spring where it would hurt, but it would just kind of warm up as I would start throwing every day. It would kind of go. It would start, lubing up or getting nice and loose. But once I got there and I started throwing right away, long toss, started throwing the bases, and I didn't feel right. I started changing the way I started throwing. I let them know. Got a cortisone shot. It lasted about till August, and then I one game against the Pirates actually. I made a couple diving plays, and on the last diving play, I came up feeling a little weird. I tried to tuck my jersey in, and my arm locked up, and that was it. I went on the DL, but the doctor said they only saw a little bit of a jammed shoulder, so I got another cortisone shot in the joint. Lasted about a week. The last game of rehab, I felt it a little bit, but I decided to come. I told them, I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm gonna go. I want to try to compete, and I don't know. That's just the way I am. And played one game. Then they sent me home. They said they wanted to let younger guys get a chance. So once I got home, literally the next day I got home, I couldn't lift my arm up. It was out. So I tried to rehab it from September to December because the doctor I went to saw that they saw the same thing. It was just a jam shoulder, and then I couldn't lift a 5-pound dumbbell in front of my face in December. So at that time, I called it and got surgery. And the doctor saw what was wrong and saw what the MRI didn't show, and then they fixed it. But yeah, I'll be out this year. It is bittersweet, I'm missing time because time with the guys is what I really miss. I miss hanging out. I miss the grind, and but I am here with the family day in and day out, which is I'm a soccer dad. I'm hanging out. I get to be with them every night, and it's been a blessing, that for sure.
Love that.
Yeah, man.
I got I got designated. See, my son was born August 26th. So I got designated September 3rd, and we'll have to get into that story later because that story was wild. But I remember, like, at the time, I was like, man, this sucks. And then looking back on it, like, I literally missed a couple days with my son, and the rest, I literally had gotten to see the rest of his life until he was like 2 years old because of that. So like such a blessing. And then like
Absolutely.
then 2020 gets
Yeah.
you know, everything happens. I get another 2 months with him. Then 2021, we get the lockout. You get another two. So it's been, you know, like you said, I think it's been a bittersweet part for a lot of baseball players. I think, you know,
Absolutely.
a lot of guys really enjoy what we do. I think the majority of people enjoy what we do. I mean, there are plenty of people that don't. There are plenty of people that come to the field every day, and it's miserable to come to the field every day.
They're just good at it.
Huh?
They're just good at it.
Yeah, and there's plenty of those people too. There's plenty of people that just, hey, I want to come to the field. It's my job, and I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
Even as somebody that doesn't spend much time in clubhouses at all, really, it's like a working relationship with you guys. I've met those players that like don't enjoy it. They're just good at it. And that's such a weird way to exist in this game, I feel like.
Yeah.
Minor league level.
Exactly.
Miserable. If you think that in the minor leagues, you better be really talented and get to the big leagues fast.
Yes. Because
you
you're going to
know,
get tested. You're going to get tested. You're not going to want to be doing the 13 to 14-hour bus trips with the bus breaking down. Oh, man. You remember that Iowa trip? That night trip that we got, that we got broken down. Yes.
Hey, how about this one, Albert? I had back-to-back, can't make this up, last year, back-to-back trips, same bus driver breaks down.
Yeah. Dude.
Back-to-back sleeper trips. You know, that's why one thing that I always tell kids, whether they're happy, sad, whether they're in rookie ball or AAA, whether they're in Little League, I tell everybody, every single player, no matter what age and how long you play, you get to take one thing from this game, and that's the memories that you made while you were playing it. You're guaranteed to be able to take that. So I beg everybody that I talk to, I tell them that, meaning and this is how I use my corny statement, but like I say, like, play every day like it's your last. Nobody should ever have to tell you to play hard. That statement, play every day like it's your last, to make you play hard. I don't want you on my team if you're not playing hard. Play every day like it's your last to me means if it's your last time ever playing and you look back, are you going to look back and go, dang, like think about all the times you were 0-for-4. Think about all the times you were sitting in the dugout because you weren't playing. Or are you going to think about the 14-hour road trips that sucked at the time, but now you look back, you're like, dude, that's awesome.
Awesome.
Like, you're staying in these tiny towns. You're getting to spend months with your boys. Like, all these great things that we get to do, like, you are guaranteed to have one memory, whether it be happy or sad. And I beg of you to make it happy, because this game's a blessing for so many people, man. And
it goes by quick, man. It goes by quick. It goes by quick.
Too quick.
It goes by really quick.
You know, clearly there were people there before us, there are people here after us. And that's the other thing I tell people about the game. Like, if you don't have fun playing the game, I think that you should let somebody else have a chance to have fun playing the game. I don't believe that there's this massive group of people that our parents told us that we should quit because there's all these people that could do it. Like, no, there's not this giant group of people that could play Major League Baseball. But there is a big group of people that could play that would have fun. And like, you know, watching Albert's fun. You know, you always enjoyed being out there and took pride in that. And that's a huge part of this, because, you know, our game is so mental.
Yeah.
Especially on the offensive side. And figuring out how to play this game with as little stress as possible is the key to success for the guys that do not see the ball like Mike Trout.
100%.
You know, I truly believe that Aaron Judge and Mike Trout and those guys truly see pitches differently than the average human being.
You think so? That's a good point.
You know, so Brian Harper, you had Harper for a little bit. Brian Harper talked about like, when you take a pitch, when it's 3-0 and you take a pitch, or when you're like bunting, how pure does that ball look? Like, how easy is it to see that pitch?
It's the best. It's always the best pitch to hit.
Always. So his point was, is that how Mike Trout sees every pitch?
Damn. If it is, wow, what a feeling.
Right? So like outside of that group of players, you have to figure out a way to have as little stress as possible. And the only way to do that is to have fun. Because if you're not, it's not going to be fun because you're going to lose a whole lot. You're going to do a lot of things that you don't want to do. And that's, and Albert can attest to this more than anybody. You've done it for multiple seasons, but like I've heard from many players, and I reiterate the statement that once you're in the big leagues, it's not who can play the best through 162, it's who can get through 162. Like those dude, like when you are a major leaguer and you're on the major league roster for the whole year, it's not about like you're surviving most of the time. You're surviving, not thriving.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're weathering the storm. You're trying to weather the storm as it goes on, and not too high, not too low. These are things that are easier said than done, but I think that's where it goes back to culture and seeing the way your teammates react when they go through it. It makes a big difference. Like Javi was the best. Like Javi will have a bad game, and I'll be like, "Damn, today was tough." And you come back tomorrow, and you try again. You know what I mean? I thought he was the best at that. Some guys wear it the most, a little more. Some guys let it rub off, but I think that is the key to staying sane throughout 162. It's just letting it rub off. But I feel like it's tougher for me to do that defensively. I've been better at the rest later on in my career, but early on, I felt like I had to be perfect. But offensively, you can't expect that. So I just it's definitely a learning curve that you go through. I feel like the first one that I got faced with in it was Double A. When my first and Buddy Bailey, our manager there, wasn't easy either. But I thank him. I thank him at the end of the day for being that tough and really just keep having that grind, that routine aspect, of the game. Taylor could attest that too. The way he wrote day games or night game after day game, or doesn't matter. He had our pre-work done, and you had to do it, and it sucked in the moment, but like we say, we think about it now. We're thankful for those moments.
Yeah, he was Buddy Bailey, and I don't know, Jack, if you've seen Buddy Bailey's, and Albert, I don't know that you've seen this. I saw a tweet. He's the 4th winningest minor league coach of all time.
Yeah, isn't he in Myrtle Beach now?
In Myrtle Beach.
Is he in Myrtle still? Is in Myrtle?
Yeah. So and Jack, he's a Venezuelan legend. Honestly, he's still managing down there. He's won a crazy amount of championships. It's wild, but Buddy Bailey. I think the thing about Buddy Bailey that I learned to appreciate as I got older. There are plenty of coaches that want you to put in the extra work, that want you to do all this stuff. Buddy Bailey was out there with you doing it every single day. Like if he wanted you to do something, he was out there with you doing it. He may not have physically been able to run with you, or he didn't really throw a ton of BP, but like he was outside.
He played Fungo. He
was helping you do it. He wasn't necessarily a super negative person. He would let you know when you're doing something wrong. Don't get me wrong.
Right away.
but he wasn't overtly negative, but he would be there with you. Like you felt like it was a journey. You knew he cared. And I think that's looking back, like, I talk about all the time. I think that coaching, the reality of coaching is that the best coaches are just the best teachers. And the best teachers figure out how the most people learn. And I think that at the time, Buddy Bailey that was like his love. Like that was like his, hey, I'm here for you guys. Like I'm coming out. Buddy Bailey didn't want to be in the big leagues. Buddy Bailey loved exactly where he was at. And Crazy. He wanted to make every single player better. And that added to the culture, right? Like that just added to it because he was doing everything he could every single day to help the Cubs win.
Yeah. He loved winning. Who doesn't? But there were sometimes like, certain at bats, he was like, he wanted to win. He wanted to win, and that was his biggest thing. Always, always, always. It wasn't about develop. He wanted to go. He wanted to kick everybody's ass. Oh my gosh.
Funny. And it's so funny because, you go from him to Peavy. And
I know. Very true. Completely opposite.
And Marty Peavy.
Yeah.
Marty Peavy, Marty Peavy's been a huge influence in my career. So, but I'm gonna be biased. But you know, Marty Peavy was a grinder when he was playing. Like he wasn't given anything. He was a tough player, and then he became a coach early, and he grinded his way through the coaching ranks.
Yeah.
But he got it for the most part, and you weren't having you were having show and goes when you got home early got home late. You were doing those kinds of things. You had that kind of feel where with Buddy, if the bus was late, that was our fault. It didn't matter.
Yeah, he didn't care.
The bus driver. We should have told the bus driver to get there earlier. So we were taking infield. It didn't matter.
Hey, speaking, that was a good clubhouse too, man. That's even those 15, 16. Those are good clubhouses in Iowa. Those are.
I know.
We had Christopher Negron that one year. That was
the 17 clubhouse, or this was the 16. No, the 17 clubhouse with Chris Dominguez, Chris Negron, or was Negron?
No, that was 16. That was 16.
Well, 17 was Dominguez, 16 was Negron.
No, I played with Dominguez too.
I know, 16. In 17.
Oh, was it 17?
Yeah, the only reason I know that is because he was with me when I got the call up to the big leagues.
Oh, okay.
He's coaching Division I right now. He's a head coach at a Division I in Kentucky.
Nice.
Yeah.
Isn't he a Miami guy? Is he a Miami guy?
So he's from Miami, went to Louisville, started coaching at this he met a girl, his wife's from Louisville. He met a girl there. And then he was an assistant at Bellarmine, which is the school, and then he went to Miami for a year. He coached at Miami for a year.
Okay.
Then he went back to Bellarmine for 1 year, and then now he's a head coach.
All right.
Albert,
TD, what's the goal? What's the goal for you? What do you want to be? You want to be a big league hitting coach?
No, I want to manage in the big leagues. I think, we've talked about this, but like, I think I've got the aptitude. I think I've got the drive to do it. Yeah. I love the big leagues too. I want to be in the big leagues. However,
whenever you need a first base coach, outfield guy, hit me up.
You're in. Yeah, sign. You're in. No,
TD,
I want to do
that. The first...
I want to do that, and then I want to go be a GM. So then you can be my outfield. Then you can be my outfield coordinator.
Sick. Hell yeah, let's do it. Can we get another World Series? I'd love to win another World Series somehow.
True. This is the first guest that I think we've had that has asked you questions, right?
That is. You're the first person.
Oh man,
I love that.
I just know. I know my boy TD. No. I know. I'm a lifer, man. I just want to pick your brain because after playing my play, hopefully when I come back from this, I got 4 or 5 more years, maybe 6. I'm still young, but hey, I want to transition sooner or later, man, and I want to pick your brain.
Love that. A couple rapid fire before we let you go. You've got 1,600 big league plate appearances. What was your most uncomfortable AB? Who was it against?
Uncomfortable. You know what?
Did you get in that bat in the World Series?
Yes. Okay. I'll give you that. I'll give you that story right there. I can't call it my most uncomfortable because it was so fast that I'll never forget. I was in the dugout. I was in the cages getting ready, whatever. Hey, you're gonna lead off this inning. Perfect. Who am I facing? Andrew Miller. Alrighty then, let's go. Alright, this is the peak of Andrew Miller with those sliders and the 98. And I'll never forget. I got up to the box. It was cold. It was game. I think it was 4 or 5. I don't know what it was. And I stand in there and I go, I'm gonna get one first pitch right here. It's probably gonna be a fastball. If it's not a fastball, I'm gonna look crazy. But I'm gonna give this all I got. And I smoked it to right, and the someone made a diving play on me, and I was out. But I ran the first. I came back and I remember taking that environment, and I was like, well, that happened quick. But I didn't think nobody paid attention to it was the first pitch of the inning. But man, I hit it hard, and I was pumped about that one. But most uncomfortable, I think this past year, honestly, was the lefty from Tampa,
McClanahan.
He throws 100, but he throws that 90-mile-per-hour changeup and then a cutter and a slider off that. You know what? I was just in there. I feel like I didn't have a good approach. I guessed wrong, or not guessed, but everything I swung at was not what I wanted it to be, and wasn't a fun at bat.
That wasn't it.
Wasn't it? It wasn't it. That was one day where I was just like, okay, please just move on. Just move on. Please just get me out of here.
Love
Like,
that.
Oh,
hit me with a
man.
changeup. Hit me with a changeup.
Dude, it's because every time I was like, all right, fastball, change up, all right, change up, fastball. I was like, all right, here we go. You know what? Just you got me, bro. You know what? I'm just gonna stand here next time. I have a better chance of drawing four than hitting something. But no. Besides that, I feel like I can put up a good at bat against anybody. Just don't. AL East. Just get me off that guy.
Got you.
No,
All right, you debut at 22. You're 28 years old now. What's like the way that your game has changed the most since you debuted?
wow. I actually have a plan when I'm hitting. As much as I'm talking crap about that, I feel like I do have a better plan than when I came up. When I came up, I just kind of survived in the big leagues based on my ability to put the bat on the ball and to be a gamer and just help team wins defensively and get on base somehow. But I feel like now I've seen the ball better. I'm making better decisions swinging. I don't chase as much. So those are all positive things that I'm taking from these past seasons. Injuries have cut me the last couple of seasons short, but I am maturing at the plate. And defensively, honestly, they're making the way analytics things are at. It's taken me a couple years to adjust and be stubborn because I want to be stubborn to the way I am, the way I play. I like to play shallow. I like to take away hits. But these analytics things, they push a different narrative, and they really don't value that as much as, in my opinion, the way they should anymore. So playing deeper, avoiding the walls is always a good thing, and that's maturing with that a little bit as well. But yeah, just growing, man. Like I said, the game is always going to teach you something. I enjoy the culture aspect of baseball now because since I did live that 16 and 17 teams, those teams are really close. When I get to a team that I kind of feel separated, I feel like everybody's not in it. It is a challenge for me to get guys together to be either the funny guy or whatever kind of guy they need to be. I don't think I'm that funny, but I bring some type of uniqueness to a clubhouse. So those are the type of things that you want to improve in, right? To have a mark somehow on the field, like is either as you're cheering your teammates on or you're picking guys up and letting knows whoever's playing that day what situation could help the team or things like that, man. I'm being a coach as a player. Those are all fun things to me. And still going out there and balling. I enjoy competing. I enjoy hitting. I love turning on 100-mile-per-hour fastballs. So those are always fun.
I love that. Last one from me, and I love that Taylor brings this up consistently, and it's the most talented teammate versus best teammate that you've had, right? So I want a couple of your favorite teammates that you've had, not named Taylor Davis, because I'm sure he'll make that list.
Okay.
I'll tell you mine is before you answer. You know who mine is? John Jay.
I agree. That's a good one.
I said John Jay to me. I've said in the past, John Jay treated me like a person. Didn't treat me like a veteran. Didn't treat me like a rookie. Treat me like a person. That's all we want.
That's Jay's I spoke to him yesterday on the phone. Like we're close. He's awesome. He represents what we all want to be. It's just a good person. Had a good career. Everybody loves Jay. He's very knowledgeable. But yeah, Jay's a great teammate. Oh man, I have so many good. So where do I start? Are we doing just big leaguers, or are we doing? I can go anybody.
Anybody.
Well, Steven Bruno is. TD knows Bruno. Bruno's kind of like my brother. That guy's awesome. We had such a good. We connected really well. He knows how much we. Honestly, TD, we connected well. These are conversations that because there's some things that are just like baseball friends, and then there's like real friends. We talk outside too. We'll message each other, even if it's a small thing. But you message here and there. That's always good. But obviously Schwarber, because guys that I came up with, with Vogelback too, with the Cubs. Those were.
I feel like you Vogelbach and Bruno were pretty inseparable for a bit.
Yeah, I feel like we lived in the same house throughout every league that we were together in. We always tried to stay together. Every spring training. I mean, those guys, Vogie and Bruni, were my guys, man. But and Schwarbs too Schwarb's in the big leagues.
Have you seen the ad that's like, or maybe it was
Oh
a
my
TikTok.
God, was stealing second?
The
Vogie?
Vogelback one.
The
Yes.
Vogie? Is that what we're talking about?
It's not, but we can talk about that one.
That was great. I thought that was A1 performance by Vogie and Buck.
No, I was gonna say there's a TikTok that's going around. This guy's like, it said something like the definition of a male's relationship, and it was like this guy, and she asked about some friend. He's like, oh yeah, we've texted like 5 or 6 times in the past 4 years. She's like, oh, so you must not be that close. And he's like, no, I'd take a bullet for that guy.
Yeah,
That is the definition of like your friends in baseball.
absolutely.
Like, we all get that, like, the 6 months that we work, if nobody texts you during the season, it's just whatever. Nobody really cares. Like, you don't text your friends until the off season. The big joke that goes around like in September of I love, this is one of my favorite jokes, Jack, is like you'll get in September and guys will walk around the clubhouse and they'll go, man, I can't wait until I can pick my own friends.
It's so true, man. You're forced. Dude. You're just like in everything, you know, and it's from hotels to the clubhouse. It's just all through, you know, everybody by the end of the season, you know, everybody's routine. You know other people more than you know yourself, you know. It's I'll never take it for granted, man. Coming back, if I come back to this game next year, hopefully I'm coming with a different, like, really enjoy it because I'm hurting. It hurts not being there right now, knowing that I could play, but I mean, I gotta take care of this arm. I'm still pretty weak.
Got you. Hey, man, tell you what, as somebody that grew up in Chicago, graduated high school in 2016, so being around, knowing all that,
cool.
keeping tabs, you play the game in such a fun way, and everybody that I grew up with loved watching Albert Almora play baseball, and we will continue.
Thank you.
So
where were you in the World Series for the World Series?
I was sitting in my dorm at Syracuse. By the way, you were a Syracuse Met for a little bit. What were your spots that you hit in Syracuse, real quick?
I didn't hit any spots, man. Syracuse. Oh, you know, so Syracuse was 21. I was.
Oh, you
up
couldn't
and down.
hit spots.
What's that?
You like couldn't hit spots in 21.
It was COVID.
Yeah, I know. But so 21, I was up and down, and when I was. So that was the first year where you had the whole series a week, right? Monday or Tuesday to Sunday, correct?
Yeah.
So I would do Tuesday to Sunday, and then Sunday after the game, I drive back to New York to spend the off day and the Tuesday with the family. So I never really hung out in Syracuse much. I hung out more in Louisville last year than I did. I went to the museum there. That's neat. Louisville stuff. But Syracuse is nice. I enjoyed it. The stadium was nice. It had a lot of people always come out, but it was good. I enjoyed that team.
Yeah, so I was sitting in my dorm room in Syracuse watching that. But Taylor, last thing, the floor is yours to wax poetic about Albert Almora Jr., the guy.
Oh man, Albert's one of my best friends in this game, no doubt. You know, does things right on and off the field. He plays in the right way, no matter the circumstance. But the one thing that I give Albert more is like, he is as mentally strong a baseball player as I've seen, man. You know, Albert's come from a lot. It took him a lot to get to where he got. You know, not many people know his upbringing, but like Albert was not given anything that he got. And I think that's a very big misnomer with a lot of, you've said it multiple times in this podcast, with a lot of top 10 high school prospects. They're given some of this, and boy, he had to earn everything he did. And I'm not sure I saw a first rounder that had to earn his way to the big leagues more than I had to watch Albert earn his way to the big leagues. And just to see that perseverance, and, you know, there's some other things that happened in there that I don't think were fair to Albert as far as what the team did, but that wasn't any of our decisions. But just the fact that he was able to keep face and you know, kind of keep persevering, and like I've talked about before, but it's like one of those things, and I think, you know, you really exemplified this, but you had, like, you understood that, like, it wasn't an option. Like, you were going to have to do whatever this was that they were asking. You could either be pissed about it and do it, or you could be happy about it, figure out a way to make as much money and take as much money from them as you could and move on. And I think that that's very tough for a lot of people to do. So Yeah, it was a blast playing.
That's pretty spot on. I appreciate hearing it in those words is very. I appreciate those words. Yeah, yeah, it hasn't been given to me, but it hasn't been given to a lot of us, and we gotta grind, and we gotta continue to grind. And I can, I did sit back the other day. I was like, all right, 28 World Series ring, parts of 7 years. A pretty good career, and I'm excited for what's next. Like I said, I'm still young, and I'll probably go till my body breaks, and then I'll help kids.
You're gonna go until you're not able to climb that tree anymore,
dude.
But then you got a spot on TD's coaching staff.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna need him to do the hard work now to bust through the levels for the next 4 or 5 years, so I can finish and then just get a nice little job. I don't want to go. I mean,
I love that. I'm all in on that. I'm all in on doing the work.
All right, and then we'll take a picture and we'll toast with a World Series ring when we win. I'm telling you, we could do it. We could do it. Why not?
Let's do it.
I love it.
I'm going to take you up on a rehab update on this. So we're going to get you back on the show at some point this summer. And
get me back. We'll talk about childhood. We'll talk about some cool stuff.
This was great. Thank you, Albert.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, TD. Love you, bro. Good luck. I'll see you guys.